Hey, 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 we're back. We're black. We're brown. Ambition. 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 Hey, Mandra, how you doing, girl?
Hey.
Mandy is wearing
girls.
black-owned lippy, and this is like her color. I wish y'all.
Oh, thank you. And a black-owned, what you call this, pullover? Okay. This is that brand you told me about, Ofure?
Oh, yeah. Is that how you say it? It's really, because the red on red is giving, honey. And tell the girls like the name of the lippy.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. And Tiffany's like, oh, yeah, I know the owner of that lippy. So my favorite activity is shopping the end caps at Target. Yes. So like the end of the aisles, and I always find good stuff. So this was like a Black History Month special lip kit. Had a lip pencil and a liquid matte lip gloss or whatever lipstick. And the color is Rich Auntie.
Yes,
Rich Auntie liquid matte. It's good.
What's the lip liner?
It's called Straight No Chaser.
Ooh, okay.
Lip liner.
So if you're not familiar, the lip bar is by Melissa Butler, and she was actually on Shark Tank, and they said, girl, you tried it, we don't want it. And she said, no, you tried it. And now she's like I think she's like the biggest black owned makeup line inside Target. She actually has two lines. She's got the lip bar, I think it's Thrive or something like that. Thread. Yeah, it's like this blue line thing that she has. But Melissa's amazing. She's been slaying. I remember distinctly, like I think it was their pandemic. She was having a hard time because, people weren't going outside and trying to look cute. But
then Zoom took off.
She more than rebounded and bounced all the way back. And her colors are the best one. They last. The colors are really,
I've been drinking and look. You see me right on this?
Yes. Right. So Mandy has a water bottle that she's drinking out of. I really have to say, like, the colors, like when I put them on, like whenever, I would say 80% of the time when I'm on TV or whatever, I'm wearing her color because my makeup artist can't always come with me and they will last the whole time. And so she actually has a place in Detroit, which I've been to, which is really cute. But she sold in Target. And I think CVS. She's just slaying it. She's just like a sassy, beautiful black woman that is like, what? Straight out of Detroit. So try it if you want to. So shout out to Melissa in the lip bar.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, did you have a good B-Day weekend? I think there might have been another holiday this weekend, but it was Beyonce. It was Cowboy Carter. It was a national holiday. Like I actually wished people a happy B-Day all day.
No, you did.
I have such a heartbreaking story. I feel like every once in a while, I give you like a Mandi adventures of Mandi, where like it is just a clusterfuck and everything goes wrong. And if you have kids at home and little kids, the morning routine of getting out the door, fed, everything packed up, things, get the bottles for the baby and get the lunch, and don't forget the water bottle, not that water bottle, the new water bottle, not that Yoda one, the Yoda one that's metal, not plastic water bottle. Anyway, and it's every day is different. Today we got there like 30 minutes late, whatever. It's after spring break. But on Friday, I booked myself a 90-minute deep tissue massage and a 90-minute facial because the skin has been just looking haggard. And I was so excited. Plus the new Cowboy Carter album dropped. And I made sure I booked the nice spa that's like a little, like a 30-minute drive away. And I thought, I'll listen to one half on the way there. Cause the album time is like 1 hour and 17 minutes. Yes, I had to be sure I could squeeze it in. And then on the way back, I listened to it during, I don't know, I was going to vibe, and it was going to be such an amazing day. Drop off the baby, drop off Rio, walk up to the door, and they were like, oh, ma'am, is he here for? No, there's no school today. It's Good Friday and we're in a Catholic church and it's closed. So you could take your adorable son and good luck to you. And I was devastated. And Rio, and sweet Rio, he's like, Mommy, don't be sad. I go to your massage. I could go. And I'm like, you could if it was like a 30-minute massage, but I can't. It was going to be a 3-hour minimum experience. I can't, there's not enough YouTube in the world to keep him. And I also didn't want that to be his day, just like, and then I wouldn't be able to really relax. So the whole day was fudged. But we ended up going, it was every hour. So I just wanted to cry. Also, I was out like $300 because Yeah, because I canceled like 45 minutes before, and
Yeah.
it's just, what a disaster. I keep getting the emails like, how would you rate our services? I'm like, the services I did not get, but that I paid for. It's great. But anyway, and I was so frustrated because I didn't get to really listen to Beyonce, the new album, Cowboy Carter, until the next morning. But it has been, because I wanted to be alone, like in peace, and Rio is just, anyway. But I finally did, and I've been listening to it nonstop. It's been the soundtrack to my weekend, and whatever. There was another holiday this weekend, but it was fantastic.
Yes.
Rio got this in his Easter basket.
Not the Beyonce.
I'm holding up. Yeah. He's going to realize that Easter Bunny's not real if I keep doing this kind of stuff.
First of all, I remember when I took, so for Carol's, one of my sisters, her 40th birthday, I was doing I was going to a conference in Puerto Rico. I said, come, and this will be like your birthday present. So she came, and Amelia, her daughter, whose birthday was on Friday, Beyonce Day, aka Mimi Day, she lost her tooth when we were away, and my sister Tracy was watching them, and she was like, "What are we gonna do, Auntie Chichi?" That's Tracy's nickname. The tooth fairy is in Puerto Rico. These kids be knowing.
Yeah. I mean, Rio really, he's like, ooh, a basket full of stuff. I like this. But he didn't ask too many questions. But yeah. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it up for.
It confused her when she woke up to Monday. She was like, wait a minute. Like, So let's talk about some of our faves. I know you can't pick your favorite. And I don't even have So there's some ones that like instantly, sometimes because there's so many songs. It's like, what is it, 27 songs? How many songs is it?
Well, the thing is, it's 27 tracks, not songs, because there's the interludes with like Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton and Linda Martell. So I feel like in total maybe 20 songs.
I love how she threw those people in
like
there because she said, try somebody else. Your greats think I'm great. She did that.
That's exactly, she's like the king and queen of country. Willie and Dolly. Like,
you love you, Willie. The greats think I'm great. Yo, the way she did that, I said, ooh, Beyonce, the level of petty is just chef's kiss.
No, just the level of like, and you know what? It's that classic, like in order to be received well, there's no margin for error as a Black woman. Like you have to get the great white cosign. You know what I mean? Although I don't think it was as trite, like as I think she really did it from a place of like, I respect these icons. And there was, but this was this is a Beyonce album. I really get it when she said this is not a country album, it's a Beyonce album. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be living in the time of Beyonce. I feel like everybody who came up in the 80s, like in their 20s and really got to be there for the Michael era, you know what I mean? The Michael Jackson era and the Prince era. And people keep saying that, oh, she's our generation's Michael and Prince and all that. And I do, and Tina Turner, which is, it's totally fair, but we are so fortunate because she is so healthy that I don't think she's going to die at a very young age. Like she's not going to OD. And I'm just like, and the body of work, we all know, like there were the classic albums from these artists and they were huge and they were the soundtrack of a generation. But I feel like she's the soundtrack of like 2 generations now because she still keeps putting out incredible bodies of work. To be fair,
Michael Bennett was at it from
artistry.
ABC, Easy at the Jackson 5.
This is true.
Right? Michael's like, hold on, I'm gonna let you cook, but
okay. But his last couple albums, like, what are they giving Thriller?
Think about, you have to think from ABC all the way to Bad, like that, and that's when he was like fully grown. But he gave you Thriller, which had like every single one was a number one. So I'm not saying obviously Beyonce is amazing, but what I am saying is that like, yes, that like, and similar to Beyonce, because one day we'll be looking back and be like, wait, whoa, don't forget Destiny's Child. She was a child.
Right.
And so we got to see her, we haven't even seen her, I don't think at her peak, but, okay. So far the 3 songs that make me say yes, obviously we have to stand for Jolene.
Okay.
First of all, what I love about Jolene is that she said play with somebody else, because if you listen to the Dolly Parton's version,
nothing like it,
which is beautiful,
very little like it.
But in that version, like Dolly Parton is saying, please don't steal my man. And Beyonce said, girl, pick somebody else before I pick you.
I'm coming from a space of love. For your own good.
Yes.
Like, don't waste your time.
She said, don't come for my man, because We're not pleading. We're not asking. It's happening. Like, do you want to? I'm still a Creole from Louisiana. Okay, so she said, yeah, you don't want none of this. So that I loved the intonation, but plus Jolene is just like iconic. Like Dolly, obviously iconic, and then also too, Miley Cyrus did a version which was also really beautiful, but Miley Cyrus's version was very like the same lyrics as
faithful to the original.
But no, Beyonce said, "Oh no, we're actually not asking." You could just see her bat in hand, like, did you hear what I said, Jolene? Come here if you want to.
Jolene. I love the beginning where it's like, Jolene. Like the echoes. And Jolene. And then, and not only that, but the sequel to Jolene, Daughter, right after that. Like, I don't know if you listened to that song enough, but I did not run to Jolene because I figured it would just be a remake. Okay. And then I heard Blackbird, which was beautiful, but I was like ready for the original music. So, but then when I went to, I'm like, oh, it is an original Jolene. And then the Daughter after that, the sequel where like she goes and Jolene tries it. And then we find out what happens to her in Daughter. And, okay, but keep going.
No. And so Jolene. My favorite hands down is Blackbird. Yeah. Right? Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Well, here's the thing. I love that song prior, right? Take these broken wings and learn to fly. First of all, it's really mournful and beautiful. But then I learned the history. I just always liked that song in general. Like I
never knew this either.
Yes. Like, so for those who don't know the history, so it was written by Paul McCartney of the Beatles. And he wrote it during the 60s when all the racial upheaval was at its like, I mean, we've had our peaks since then, but it was really like at a fever pitch. You know, he was watching, people being hosed down, people being attacked by dogs, like when everything was not publicized, everything was on TV. You got to really see what it looked like to be Black fighting for your rights in America. And so as a musician, like so many musicians, he wanted to express how he was feeling, but also to do something in solidarity with. And so he said, I'm going to write this song. And he called it Blackbird. Black, obviously, in tribute to Black people. But bird was just like a slang for what they call girls in Europe, in England or whatever. And so not a derogatory slang, but just like, that's like, how like, because when we say bird now, it means like, you're like,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, bird, I feel like
Beyonce
it wasn't
called Jolene a bird in her song.
Yes,
which
but but Beyonce's using it the way we use it, like modern, and because if you're a bird now, that means you're basically, the word bird now comes from the chicken head, like you're a chicken head, like but back then, bird was just like a girl. So anyway, so Blackbird, because he wouldn't have used the word bird if it was disrespectful. It wasn't such back then. It was just another word for girl.
But it was supposed to be like a quiet protest or like a solidarity anthem, which is so beautiful.
I know
how everybody's singing it, but not really knowing.
Yes, and so I just love that. Like the first couple lines: Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free, this moment to be. And so it's just so beautiful. It's just like, and so Beyonce stayed very close to like, the underlying like melody. And what I love is that she had 4 other Black country singers on this record with her. And they just, it's beautiful. It's haunting. It's beautiful. It's hands down. I probably listened to that song already 50 times already. It's my favorites thus far on the album, just because when I listen to it, actually, like, it tears me up knowing that like the origin and who she's really singing it for. So it's more than just the song. It's like the meaning behind it. So that is hands down right now my favorite, just because of the meaning behind it. And also it's just beautifully sung.
And, that's another one where I was like, I listened to the first verse and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Skip. Because I didn't hear the other women because they have their own verses. Yes. And I just thought, I was like so eager to get to the new stuff anyway. But going back, it is an exquisite song. And to hear those other voices, what a beautiful way. She's just like always chef's kiss.
Yes.
Like, let me actually get some Black. It's like her nod to the up and comers who were here doing the thing before Beyonce, because she could overshadow she is the sun, right? Yes. So she can outshine a lot, but she doesn't choose to. She's like, let me take my sun and shine on y'all, which I think is just such an element of her power and why she's so amazing.
But also too, like the fact that she chose that song, like especially in a time like now, Like, you know,
Yeah,
it's
she
still,
got 4 blackbirds.
yes, it's still a protest song. Like, no,
Mm,
you know, so I mean, everything with Beyonce is
just as
so
relevant today
intentional.
as then.
Yes, exactly. So what about you? So what's one that
Um,
made you say, wait a minute?
okay, so American
Girl,
Requiem.
girl, girl,
The first track.
girl.
This
I know.
this is not what you didn't come to BA fam. You didn't come to Brown Ambition for a Beyonce, like to go through every single track.
We're not gonna do every single track, but we gotta give sis.
I know. But I could have a master's degree in her music.
Girl,
and like American Requiem is like exquisite.
Yes.
So layered.
Yes.
The name of the song, Requiem, you know, something that you would perform and sing at a burial, a ceremonial sort of song. And the fact that it's American Requiem and some of the lyrics, like the big ideas are buried here, and just the haunting, like quality of her voice, girl, and the way that she uses her instrument in so many different ways is just so exquisite. Yes. And to have that be the entryway, she's saying so much. Yes. She's saying so much with that song. It's like it's laying the foundation for the rest of the record. Like, can you hear me? Will you stand with me? It's time to face the wind. It's time to stop playing pretend. Like, it's time to like embrace the good. And also for those who, like, she actually answers people who did not want her to go into country, who said when she went on the CMAs with the chicks back when she had daddy lessons out, said like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And why are you here? Like this, you're a pop artist, you're R&B, you're urban, you're not country. And she's like, well, let me remind you who I am. Like, let me educate y'all on where I come from. Part. Like Louisiana, Alabama, yes, like the Creole. Yes. What did she say? The daughter of a moonshiner,
girl,
granddaughter of a moonshiner.
Girl, the way I was like, if you don't read
she went way back in the history books.
That part, like when she opens with that part, and the lines after that, it's like daughter of a moonshiner. She talks about Georgia, but she said something else. Yeah. I have to look it up because I was hollering. When I tell you I was I took like a 2-hour walk just so I could listen. I mean, I know people were in the street like, I'm going to need you to, I was like, girl, bother somebody else. But I live in a black neighborhood, so they weren't. Yes. We have a big idea. Anyway, so good. And then the end of the album, Amen. Like, it's just, and it sounds just, it really gave me, and I read the press release from Parkwood, which I don't think they've really given a press release about an album where Beyonce is being interviewed and actually shares the making of the album, like some of the behind the scenes. But she was inspired by all these old Western films, and the way the album is, like, it starts and ends with that same sound. It very much was giving, like, if you watch any old films from the 50s, like even Bambi, like my son loves Bambi, they start with this big, like very like orchestral sort of opening, and it sort of mirrors at the end, and the whole thing was like very sepia toned and like just stunning. So I love that song. I love, there's too many. I love Levi's jeans. Yes,
I love them.
Post Malone.
Yes, with Post Malone.
First of all,
it's so sexy.
I've heard of him, but I never really got to his music. I said, hold up.
Well, he sang, what did he sing at the Super Bowl? Was it America the Beautiful? Or
he has a beautiful voice.
Was it the Star Spangled Banner? I don't know. He sang something.
But Levi's,
he does,
I said, hold up. Let me find some other post things to post up on.
But like Riverdance, which I love that Beyonce is still, she's so exquisite, but she does ratchet like no one else, and she does sexy. Like, I mean, I feel like Riverdance, and even Levi's a little bit, those were like the drunken loves. It really, I even felt like some of the sounds that she used, the way that she sang was very like reminiscent of her Lemonade era, and just giving us like so many different genres. I mean, I feel like there was rock, of course there was country, but there was still soul, there was still R&B, there was still, she gave us opera and Daughter. Come on.
The opera girls was going up. Apparently, the aria that she sung in that song is from a book of like arias that if you are going to learn opera, your opera singer, your opera teacher is going to give you this like top 25 books of arias. And that is the aria that almost everyone starts with. And I forget the meaning behind that aria. But like the opera girls were gagging, honey. They were all over the TikToks and the Talks and the IG giving us all the tea, just so you know this is intentional. It was, Oh, Beyonce. I
Yeah.
just, girl. Ah.
Okay, and then Protector, of course,
Yes.
Lullaby, such a sweet song.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny with these albums, with Renaissance and now with Cowboy Carter, I listen to them all the way through. They're so beautiful listening together, and I don't know the names of the songs while I'm listening to them. So sometimes I'm like, what is this one called? And I'm like, oh, I like,
Mhm.
but I think I've listened to them enough to recognize. But
Yeah.
Riverdance, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, Bodyguard, and then not Enrique, Rio sings 16 Carriages because I've been walking around the house 16. He's like, 16 carriages.
I love that. This ain't
Um,
Texas.
Yes, all of it. So
Yeah.
just everyone, if you've been, vibing with the Cowboy Carter album, I am right there with you. It is
You know what I
so
found
fun.
interesting? Did you see that Beyonce said this was actually supposed to come out before Renaissance?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
that
then
was
she
part
said
of that
after,
press release.
right? But after the pandemic, she was like, people deserve to dance and something lighthearted. And she knew imagine knowing you're so powerful that you're like, let me change the mood of the nation with my album, and did.
Right. And did.
And so we all got to party and had a good time. Now,
and we did need it to be outside last summer.
Yes.
At that huge show.
Yes.
So
let's bring it on back to the financial part, right? So how do I want to see the uptick of Levi's sales? Because we're going to see it.
Right.
Cowboy-esque things. Like I know cowboy hats. Like when this concert comes out, I mean, I just cannot wait to see. Like,
I don't know if I can expect a tour. Like she just doesn't do like the way that she did a traditional album release is so different to what she had been doing, just dropping a whole album and the visuals. We never got visuals for, Renaissance. We got the tour. Like, I don't know what to expect. There's still going to be an Act 3.
Yes.
And like, what? I don't know. I'm just so excited.
What do you think? You think Act 3 is going to be rock?
I would love that because remember one of my favorite songs from Lemonade was when she was wearing the cornrows. What's it called? With the white stripes guy. Where she was like real angry. Who the fuck do you think I is? You ain't married to no average boy.
Yes. Ooh. I love sassy.
Watch
Beyonce.
this fat ass twist to the next. Boy. Anyway, you just gotta let it be. Anyway, that song. I don't know the name of it. I forget now.
Yeah.
But that was so good. And the way she does that, she gives lots of rock. She gave like, I heard like Stevie Wonder. I'm sitting here like, and I'm trying to like, this sounds a little bit familiar. I heard Stevie Wonder. I heard Fleetwood Mac. I was hearing even a little bit of like the Eagles. My mom loved the Eagles growing up. A little bit of that, like kind of Western rock style. I would be so here for a rock album. Yeah. She's too good.
Yeah, I
don't know how.
She's peerless when it comes. Like, let's be real. Beyonce is peerless. She is one of 0.00001.
Yeah,
and she is a student of music and of her art and her craft, and it is a joy to watch her create and share. And so and she literally, if we're going to bring it back to the brown ambition of it all, she shifts economies with the choices that she makes. Like, honestly, I remember that time. Well,
we should have spaghetti for dinner.
But I don't know if you remember that time.
Going up.
You know that time that Oprah was being sued by the beef industry?
Oh yeah, because what she brought out,
she said something like, "Oh, I don't eat meat anymore," or whatever, and then meat stocks plummeted or something, or meat sales plummeted, and they sued her because they said that her voice is so powerful. If she says a thing, it's going to affect the market. I mean, she ended up not being found not guilty because it's like, well, I mean, I say lots of stuff, It wasn't like she said, "Don't buy that stock," and so that was just, but it just goes to show that. There are some people who the power is so strong that they literally can shift an economic cycle. They can literally sell out. It's not just about selling out concert tours in this point, I mean, Taylor Swift, we've seen this with her too, right? That like certain things, it's like, yo, Beyonce puts it out and we're buying cowboy hats and boots and Levi's. If you're going on tour, sis, we're going to be ready. We're going to be honky tonk stomping.
It's an event.
Yes.
And you'd want to take your time with it, and having now in my third week of owning the Sacred line, her hair care line, and being so like, if she sells it, I'm sorry, I'm going to buy it. Like I because the care and even while I was doing it makes me slow down the sacred hair care line because it's very like things take 20 minutes and I understand us. And a lot of it is called the ritual, the sacred this. And I'm like, this is like a sacred ritual, taking care of my hair, which I haven't felt in a while. Like she makes me feel better and the music and the experiences as well. It makes us like slow and put thought into something. The way that she puts thought into every single thing that she does publicly, which might be like a little, I don't know. That's how I feel. Like you want to like, you don't want to show up to be in her presence, even if she'll never see you not being at cause she gives you that, right? She gives you that perfection. You want to like match that. I want to know when the hell is the Renaissance documentary going to be streaming? Because I never got to see it in theaters. Because life was lifing too much.
Yes.
And I'm so desperate to see it. Did you ever see it in theaters?
No, because honestly, it was a really crazy time during that time.
Yeah. No. But, yep. We'll be reading this bedtime story tonight to be a little golden book of the Beyonce book. Yep. Who are you texting? Is it Uber Eats?
No, I'm just like, when you're renovating, like I told the painter, paint it this. I'm like, that's not the color.
Oh.
Antonio, it's like.
Did you give him his hoodie back?
Yes, I did. That was funny. Antonio, we have this amazing painter. He's great. But, one day I was like, we both wore a black hoodie one day and I wore his all the way home. Like, what is this? And it was not my hoodie because Antonio is not a very big man. He's on the shorter side. But also
he's like, why does mine smell so good?
It just goes to show you that through your passion and your excellence and your joy, that it also, there is an economic, whether it's you being a really great teacher, there's an economic impact for bringing your full self. So let's just say in the case of a teacher, if I'm this really awesome teacher, and I do such a good job that I spark interest in my kids, like that I teach, they can go on to do things that will then make this world better, whether they're a doctor or whatever, you know what I mean? That I think that, all things intermingle, you know what I mean? And certainly like maybe Beyonce, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, but who's to say that your impact as a teacher is also not hundreds of millions of dollars because of the hundreds of students that you've taught in your lifetime, if not thousands, and just a handful of them shaping the way the world comes to be.
Yeah.
And it's just like, or you might be a salesperson, like at like a Foot Locker and you're thinking, well, how do I shape, what happens economically? Well, that's not true because if you're really passionate and knowledgeable about like, say, a certain pair of sneakers, you can literally start a trend in that store and then that trend takes off. And all of a sudden we're all wearing like Sambas, but it really started in this one store in Detroit because there's one really passionate, person, working at Foot Locker. So I just it just is fascinating to me, like what joy and excellence and focus can bring, not just in your life personally, but there's an economic ripple. Like, no matter where you are, you can ripple,
I would like just even half of one ripple. Like one,
you have two babies.
Even like, one of oh, okay. Yes. Well, they have,
see what I mean?
Right now I feel like a startup founder who's like, please invest in my business. I need $30 million. I am $1 billion in debt. We are
right.
Like how startups are never profitable for like 20 years or something. That's what it's like.
But like, you don't know what your baby's going to come and your baby's babies and your baby.
We're betting big on Rio and Remy. Betting big.
No, but I love that though. And just we just don't know because look, I think about like how many women that you've helped, right? Negotiate and make more money.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you think about
yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like your dad and mom being, who they are for you, created a Mandi that comes out into the world and says, I'm going to help Mandi's money makers. And we don't know some of the women that you've helped whose children they're raising. You know what I mean? Like the kids, like, I didn't have enough money, but now my kid, I have enough for them to take violin lessons, only to find out 20 years later, they're like this violin prodigy and you might not ever know that, but you played a role because you helped her. And so isn't that such a beautiful thing that like when you go out and you do the thing, that you're here to do, you might not know, but we're all planting seeds. And so
Yes. Yeah.
just like, you can't know the outcome, but certainly you can know, like, I'm going to do my best to put the best thing out there. So yeah, like we get
That's
to
a
do
very
amazing work.
good,
Like we might,
that's a really good grounding
hmm
thought. Just to like, if you're wondering, if you're feeling like overwhelmed by the things you have to do, just like do the thing.
yeah,
And you can't control like what ripples, come from it, but
yes.
just have faith in doing that thing and putting good out into the world.
Yeah.
Like Lady B. Oh, I love her.
I know. Should we take a break or do you have some more things? I know we had other things to chat about, but we spent most of it on Beyonce.
We didn't want to talk about Beyonce anymore. Okay, fine. Okay, so Buzzworthy. Buzzworthy. This is a part of the show where we try to come up with some, useful information from the headlines. Let's see. California fast food workers are now making $20 an hour.
But they're getting also let go. Did you see that?
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fast food workers in California at chains with more than 60 national locations now earn $20 an hour.
Yeah.
But they're getting let go. Like, so how are they getting around it? Because they still need workers for their stores, right? Some affected chains have responded.
No, I think I saw somewhere that they're leaning into AI and automation. I've gone into some places where it's like you literally order your thing there and there's maybe one server in the back that makes the food and brings it to you.
Shake Shack. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some affected chains have responded to the wage hike by slashing their workforces and hiking their menu prices. Pizza chains like Papa John's, Pizza Hut laid off drivers, McDonald's, Wingstop, Chipotle are going to pass on the higher labor costs to their customers by making their menu items more expensive. Listen, inflation is still inflation. This is literally inflation at work. Wages go up, which is great, but then the cost of goods can also go up. So if you like these restaurants, better hope that you're also getting a raise to keep affording this stuff. Yikes. The other sort of side of the inflation conversation has been, now that the Fed is getting involved and they've been slowly decreasing rates. Did they do their first rate decrease yet? I forget.
I do not know.
They're going to, or they would be. Anyway, all signs are pointing toward 2024 being the year when rates start to come down, the federal Fed rate. So mortgage prices are indirectly tied to that rate, right? And mortgage rates have been super high, like 7%.
Although they have come down some. They've come down.
Yeah, which I think.
So I don't know about the Fed rate, but I know mortgage rates have definitely come down.
Yeah, I think they did lower it. So anyhow, I read this article that was talking about, okay, so if we can expect rates to go down in 2024, should people who are interested in buying a home but have been holding back, like me, for example, because of how high rates are, like advising people to go ahead and get a house and then you can refinance when rates do fall, which I was like, oh, that makes sense. But then I'm thinking, well, we're kind of trying to predict the future of markets, which is one, if you want to be right, then if you want to be wrong, try to predict what any market or rates are going to be doing is how I feel. And it's a really expensive bet to make, because a 6% interest rate, how long could it take to get back down to the 2.4% that it was?
I don't think it's going back down that.
When I refied last time. It's, and not only that, but I bought my house in 2018. I refinanced in 2021. So that was 3 years I was paying that higher, 4% rate.
Which is a great rate.
Yeah, it was, I was lucky, the timing, but I mean, yeah, so I went from being like, oh yeah, maybe I should just go ahead and buy, to oh wait, maybe don't. Maybe just base something on your own ability and your desire to buy something. Their rationale was that when rates do start to go down, people will start flooding the market and home prices could go up as a result. But again, trying to time the housing market, it's so difficult to do. I got lucky once. I don't know if luck's going to happen twice for me in terms of my timing when buying a house. But if y'all are like me, stuck in a starter home and bursting at the seams, I really, really feel your pain.
Because how many bedrooms is your home?
It's a very cute 3-bedroom.
Okay.
2.5 bath. Well, actually, 2.5 baths.
Okay.
It literally is a starter home in a neighborhood full of them. And I've actually started to just pack things away, like just pack up things that we don't need anymore, but we don't want to get rid of, because I was getting rid of so much stuff and I'm like, this stuff is good. Like, I don't want to but I don't have the space for this. So, I've been pretending like we're going to pack up and move. I just don't know when or where. And that's kind of helping. But yeah, the stuff, it's a constant battle against stuff in this house.
There's a lot of people who are in the starter home stuck right now who got great rates, and they're like, I don't want to let go of my rate, but at the same time, you know, like we want something bigger, but homes are only getting more and more expensive, and then rates are also. It's a really difficult time. It used to be like, it's so great for buyers, but that means it's terrible for sellers, or it's so great for sellers and it's terrible for buyers. And what you just see now is like, it's hard for everybody right now.
Everybody.
You know, sellers are like, I don't want to lose my rate. And then buyers are like, child, I can't afford it. Even if you did, like, you know, unless you're going to assume someone's loan. It's a really tricky financial time right now.
Very tricky. Well, you're listening to the right podcast if you want some help.
It's going to be
getting through. Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's like, it's harder to make financial choices when you don't have some kind of huge event that forces you to make a decision. Like you get a new job in a different state. Well, then I got to do something, just those situations they may not happen when you want them to, but it's a little liberating when you don't really have a choice. You just got to do something. But when you have all this time to think and to all that, I think my advice is just to try, following the herd is rarely the right financial decision at all. And if you're buying a house, you're playing the long game anyway. So just continue to play that long game. And I would not follow this advice right now, even though I almost did for 5 seconds. No, I'll keep waiting. I'm so congested. Do I sound like Kermit?
No, you're all right.
Okay. 'Tis the season for allergies, y'all.
I know. I'm not gonna lie. My eyes are burning right now. If I'm being all the way honest, it's cherry blossom season, which is beautiful, but then it's pollen season, which is not so beautiful. But we all want the bees to get their food or whatever.
Yeah.
So, so just a little update, y'all. I remember last week, Mandy, when I talked about the scam?
Oh yes, it was last week. It was your brown break, I think.
Yes. So I had talked about the scam that's happening. So the premise of the scam is someone reaches out to you and says, hey, do you want to do this podcast? It's paid. It's going to happen on Facebook Live. And you have to give me some back end, you have to link me back end. And like I said, this is not uncommon because I have done it before with larger brands. And that's exactly what it looks like. So apparently it's the scam that they get access to your back end. And as a result of getting access to your back end, they basically kick you out. And then now they have control of your platform. So I don't know. I just thought I knew it wasn't a one-off because I had done a Google search and realized there was other people but I didn't realize that there were people who I knew, like Jessica Lee she's a big YouTuber back in the day and she's an actress now and writer and such. She shared how it happened to her and a bunch of her other friends. So they're going after people with large Facebook. So they're going after not just people with large Facebook followings, people with large Facebook followings who also do speaking engagements and stuff because they know that this is not the request.
Yeah.
So if you just had a large Facebook following, you're like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to give you access.
Very sophisticated scammers.
Yeah, and it's a long game because it's weeks in the making.
Yeah.
They don't email you directly all janky. They reach out to your management. They reached out to her management team.
Yeah.
And so, they're knowing oh yeah, vet me. Everything's great, child. It is. So thankfully for her and for me, it just didn't work because the link wasn't working. But for her, she was able to reach out to Facebook. She knew somebody there, her management knew somebody there, and we're able to get her account back. But
that's lucky because it's hard to get a hold of anybody at Meta.
Yes.
It's so impossible.
No, it really is. And so I just wanted to be on the lookout. If you've got anything suspicious in general, this is what I've learned. I remember this is not my first rodeo at the scam. Y'all know I've been scammed many a times, but I remember there was one scam in particular when I was in college where I was going on Craigslist looking for babysitting jobs and tutoring jobs. It was semi-safe back then. I don't even know, child. But either way, I found a couple of them and they were fine. And then I got one strange one where it was like, hey, he said his name was Bob or some, nondescript name. And I want you to tutor my daughter. And I said, sure. He said, I'm going to send you the money up front. I was like, all right, say less. He said, but I'm going to send you more than you need because something about his bank account, whatever. And can I send him back the rest? And I was like, huh? And he's like, yes. Like, let's just say that I was going to tutor and it was $500. He was going to send me $1,000, like a money order or a check for $1,000. I was to deposit it and then send him back the rest. And I was like, why not just send me the 500? And he was like, no, I forget why he said. So anyway, I just said, huh. So I went to the bank to ask them, like, is this real? And at the time it was still so new, the scam, the bank actually took the check and looked through it and they were like, yeah, this is a real check, and I still was like, huh, okay. They're like, still, if you got it from somebody you don't know, be mindful, like, if you deposit it and you spend the money, it's on you. So it still didn't sit well with me. So I had told Bob to call me. He said he was from Thailand. That's why he had to send me the money in this way for whatever reason. And he told Bob, so Bob told me, I said, you know what, Bob, fine. I'll do this, but I want to talk to you on the phone. He said, okay, no, say less. And this is how I caught Bob, AKA Chinedu.
You give these scammers a long time. You really like.
I know, because I was like, huh.
Give him a shot.
Yeah, because you know what it is at the time when you're broke, you're like, child, let this be real. I could use the $500.
Yeah.
So Bob said, let's get on a call. Okay. So immediately the phone rings, and I didn't even look at the phone. I picked up, said hello, and I heard, hello, can I speak to Tiffany? And instantly I was like, which one of my uncles is this? Because I can spot a Nigerian accent.
So he's not Thai.
A mile away.
Or
girl.
Nigerian
so
in Thailand?
I looked at the phone. I was like, hello, uncle. Which uncle is it? He said, no, this is not uncle. This is Bob. I said, from Thailand? He said, yes. I said, yeah, Nigerian. I can tell your accent. Fool. I said, I am Nigerian as well. He was like, oh no, I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed of yourself. I pulled out the full accent. Click.
Oh my God.
That's when I was like, oh, my countrymen, what are we doing out here? It wasn't Bob from Thailand. That was Chinedu from Lagos. Okay, from Abuja.
How come Nigerians are like, first of all, I feel like behind so many successful, like when you just Black excellence in Nigeria just go hand in hand. Like y'all are just,
I know what you're about to say.
Huh?
Why are they behind so many scams?
So, but also you have these high heights, like so many incredible business people and successful people. Like I associate Nigerians with like success and you're all like very impressive. But on the other hand, it's like,
it's the scam. Well, here's what like my dad told me. I asked him that. I said, and it's not like regular scams. It's like these elaborate whatever scams.
Yeah.
Because how did he even get the check or the money order to be real? Only to because what happens is the bank finally figured out that it was all a lie. And what would happen is you would put the money order in the account and then it would first clear.
Yep.
And then you would get the money back and then it wouldn't clear.
Yep.
So then you'd be on the hook for the money you gave back plus the money that you spent. So I don't even know how they figure that out. So when I asked my dad, I asked him that question. I said, Daddy, why, Nigerians, if they did the study and that they're at least in America, the most educated population in America. Talking about doctors, masters, etc. I said, why is it that so many Nigerians, so many scams are attributed to Nigerians? Like, what is that? He said, well, in Nigeria, just like in America, education is first, second, and third. So you have, and I've seen that, like I have literally cousins who farm, but I have their doctorate. He said, so you get all these highly, highly, highly educated people with no access to upward mobility. So here I am, a doctor, and I'm farming, And so what do you do with all this intelligence? What do people do when they're really poor? Not everyone, but oftentimes when people are really poor and there's no access to any upward mobility, then you resort to a life of crime. Yeah. Now, maybe if you're uneducated, you might knock somebody over the head and steal their purse. But if you're like, child, I got all these smarts, let me get on this computer and get to scamming.
Yeah.
So that's what you get. You have basically Nigeria, unfortunately, the government has not done a very good job looking after its people. So you have really smart, educated, motivated people with no access to be able to support themselves and their family. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying this is why the scams are at like this kind of level.
Okay.
It's because they're like, I'm going to put my smarts to this intricate. So, because my dad told me one time, like you might apply, there might be a job where there's 50 positions open. Nigeria is also the most populated country in Nigeria. And so let's just say it's in America, there's 50 positions open at a job and 500, maybe even 5,000 apply. In Nigeria, you're looking at 50,000 applicants for a 50-person slot. There's just nothing.
Dang.
Or you'll be a teacher or policeman and you won't have gotten paid for 3 or 4 months. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you quit? And then maybe you finally get your retroactive pay next month and now you don't get the money. So anyway, I'm just saying I'm not making excuses, just explaining, according to my father, why some of the scams from Nigeria end up being like these high tech, high level scams. It's because, you get a population of people with no access to money and food and things like this. But you have all this education and you're like, child, I'm going to get this one way or the other. I am leaving here with something. I'm from around the way.
Well, thanks for that. It's very helpful to understand it that way too.
But I just say, if you ever get a call from Bob with a Nigerian accent, click, hang it up.
Bob from Thailand with a Nigerian accent.
I couldn't believe it. I said, Sa, you're not from Thailand, my friend. Hey,
that's
you
one of
got
my
the
favorite
right
reels is like Nigerians don't insult you. They like, what do they, it's a Nigerian insult. It's not like I had a bad day, but it's like,
no.
Today my enemies are prospering against me. Or
You're the enemy of progress. Like someone said, like their dad used to tell them, hey, you're lucky I didn't beat you today. Today is Christmas. Next time it will be your Halloween. Like Nigeria.
You're so poetic.
Very poetic. Or they'll say something like, hey, every day you are running from stupidity. Today it has caught you. Yo, so poetic. You're like, did I just get insulted as like you did?
Yes.
She did insulted you heavily. Yeah, it's just very, very, very poetic people.
I love it. I love.
And it's time for, no, that's BAQA.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I always forget the
booster
damn breakdown.
Booster breakout.
Wait, but there's a before that. Why do I always forget?
Girl, I don't know. Write it down.
Wait, and now it's time to boost or break or boost or break or boost or break. Are you gonna boost? Is you gonna break? What you gonna do? What you gonna say? La 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 la. You gonna go first, second? How you want to do this, me and Drew?
I can go first. Are you gonna boost or break? I'm gonna do a break.
Okay.
What's your vibe?
No, my vibe is chill. So yeah, that's cool.
Are you gonna do a boost? You don't know yet.
Yes.
You don't know yet. You want me to go first? You can figure it out. Gotcha. So my friend Amelia, friend of the show, Amelia has been holding us down as part of the original BA Famers. She sent me a message because Amelia is a marathon runner and also a sports writer, like a health and fitness writer. And she's working on a book. Congrats, Amelia. But she sent me a message because I don't know if you remember, but last year, the Boston Marathon is coming up this April, right? Last year, the Boston Marathon is like the marathon. If you like to run, it's really hard to qualify for. Only the best of the best get through, etc. Last year, I mean, we know Boston's history. It's not exactly like there's a lot of issues, right? In terms of like inequities and the way that minorities are treated. Last year at the Boston Marathon, there was an incident where this crowd of spectators, people lined the course and they cheer on their runners or whatever. There was a group of black and brown spectators who were really cheering on some runners very loudly, like excitedly cheering them on. And the police, I don't know if they arrested them, but they definitely like stopped them. The police pulled them aside and made it stop. They were like, they just got all over them. And it's one of those things that policing a black joy is so like pervasive. Like you have a cookout and it's a black cookout. All of a sudden you get noise complaints. Like, I don't know if you recall Fantasia Barrino. She came out with a story about how she had done a birthday party for her little boy and his friends at a beautiful Airbnb kind of thing. And they had all these noise complaints just because the boys were outside playing and being boys. And yeah, so Boston Marathon, and my friend texted me or sent me this message because, the Boston Marathon, they apologized to the police just this year. They made an agreement because the police were so livid, like the police union, the police institution, they were so livid. And I guess they hold so much like power, like without Boston, their participation. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Boston. Without their participation, it would make it really hard for the marathon to keep going. So, they issued an apology to the police. And my friend Amelia says, yeah, the Boston Athletic Association has apologized to the police rather than the affected community. The whole thing. And Amelia has been working toward Boston forever. And that was her first year running it. It was such a long time goal for me to qualify, especially because I know that there's a lack of representation. Amelia's Peruvian. And then she sent me, I'll send a couple of links to, and I put them in the group chat about the Boston Marathon. But it was a run club. My run club was profiled for cheering while Black.
Wow.
So to that run club in Boston, I hope that they haven't stopped. But they're called the Pioneers Run Crew. But yeah.
It's so sad because I'm not going to lie, even when I'm like in a restaurant, like I'll be like, because I've got quite the voice that carries, and I'll be like, oh. And then sometimes my friends are like, Tiffany. But then it'll be like a table of like, white girls, or like yesterday I was at a Thai place and they were so loud, but honestly, joyously. Like it was like a family. And I thought to myself, well, why can't I express, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, why if I'm like, everyone here is laughing. Yeah. But the Black girl laughs and it's an issue. It's like, oh, the table, and not the table that's cussing and fussing next to me having an issue. Honestly, it's really, really frustrating. And then you end up policing yourself. Like, well, let me not be too joyful or joyous because I don't want anyone to say, even though they're freaking loud over there talking about what she did last night. So much so I can hear her. Yeah. And so like that happens a lot, especially like being out in public spaces, where your joy is supposed to be expressed. Yeah. Yeah.
And just being able and knowing that you can be celebrating the wrong way, apparently.
Can you imagine?
And then for the police to be apologized to, I just feel like it was a huge letdown for that running club. And so thanks to Amelia for bringing that to our attention. And America.
I know.
America go to America.
I know. What is it? Like the American dream is not living in America. Have you seen those t-shirts?
American Requiem. Can we bring it back to the Beyonce album?
Yeah. We can always bring it back
do we have another half an hour? Okay. So what's your brown booster break?
So this is kind of like a boosty breaky. So I'm reading this book called 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Oh, yes. You sent me that book.
It's very good. I recommend it to anybody. It's especially, here's the thing. It is going to be hard to take action if you're not an entrepreneur because some of the things require like you to have the flexibility of an entrepreneur, but it's still really good either way. But it's specifically written for business owners to like maximize the way they navigate their time, their energy, their talents, whatever. So one of the parts of the book, so this author duo, Dan Sullivan, and I forget the other guy's name. They've written a couple books together, Who Not How, but also they've written this book called The Gap and the Gain. And so there's a part of the book. So I don't know if this is a booster break, but I guess it's both because they talk about how you view things versus the gap and the gain really affects how happy, how satisfied if you get burnt out. And I realized how much I was living in the gap. And I'll explain to you what the gap and the gain is and how that's one of the things they try to reframe for you in the book that's going to help you, one, not be overwhelmed, not be overworked, but also work more joyfully. And so when you live in the gap, that is when you compare where you are now to whatever your goal is, whatever your ideal goal is. Like, oh man, I want to be $10 million a year. I'm 8. Where there's a gap of 2 million. Oh man, I want to be, I wanted my hair to be shoulder length, but it's only ear length. There's a gap. Like whatever that is, you're always comparing where you are to where you want to be. And a lot of entrepreneurs and just people in general navigate in the gap because we believe that the gap is what drives us forward. Like go, more. I could do it. But what it does is that it leaves you constantly dissatisfied with yourself. Because what happens is inevitably you do close that gap. Your hair grows, you make that money, you get that dress or whatever it is. And then what happens is that the goalpost moves. Uh-huh. And you're like, oh, before I remember me making $100,000 in a year was like one of my biggest goals. I was like, I don't know what I got to do. I mean, and now if I make that only in a month, I'm talking about gross business, I'd be out of business. Yeah. And I'm like, what used to be like less than 10 years ago was like that. If I could just do this. And now I'm like, I better do better than that. So anyway, that's the gap. And like and oftentimes if you're living in a gap in business, you're likely living in a gap at work, living in a gap with your partner, living in the gap with your kids. Like when I taught preschool, how many parents came to me like, oh, my son is not speaking like I thought. She's not walking. She's holding the spoon in this way. That's living in the gap.
Yeah.
This is where they're supposed to be, and they're here. Now, what they try to reframe is to practice living in the gain. Yeah. So instead of, you're supposed to use the ideal as inspiration, not a measuring stick, because you will never live up to whatever that thing is. It's just supposed to inspire you to keep going. But if you live in the gain, you only compare yourself to your past self. So like, wow, Tiffany, 10 years ago, you wanted to make $100,000 in a year. Now you make multiple hundreds of thousands in a month. Look how far you've come.
Yeah.
Wow, Tiffany. Or like, wow, look at my kid. I know that there is speech delay and we're getting him to the place. But literally just 6 months ago, baby boy wasn't saying anything. And now he's saying mama and dada. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. Or like, wow, like, a minute ago, like I didn't even have a business. Like I worked in corporate. Now I took this idea from my head and it's like here and like living and breathing, like this business is out into the world. And so living from the game keeps you motivated, keeps you joyful, keeps you grateful. And so it was just something that I just wanted to share. So I don't know if it's a boost or break. It's kind of like half and half because part of me realized how much I was living in the gap. And like, I want to stick it on my wall somewhere. Like, Tiffany, what is the gain component? Because I'm always comparing myself to like where I think I ought to be. And I tell myself, no, it's true. When I make this 20 million, no, it's true. When I make 30 million, it's like, well, you've made all the other like leaps before and you're still not satisfied. And so I'm really, really, really going to really try my best to reframe every time and be like, you know what? What's the gain here?
Yeah.
Where were you 5 months ago, 5 years ago? Where were you, like, yeah. So
and will that
was
extra
like
2 million bring more joy? And is that what you're after? Are you after the more joy or are you after the dollar signs?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to be as happy as I'm trying to create like, when I think about my little starter home, and I really tell myself like, we have such a happy little family in this little house. We don't need a bigger home to be happier. We need a bigger home for like, it's not a bigger home is not going to fix like any like relationship issues we may have, or certainly not like, Rio's speech delay, which is basically gone now. He's doing so good.
Look at that game.
Carriages. Like, come on. Carriages. Anyway. Yeah, but how much joy can you feel in your little container, and then everything else? It doesn't mean that you stop striving. No. At least for me, for more and all that, for better. But at the end of the day, I know that I was just as happy here, and I'll be just as happy if I end up back here.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a really beautiful message.
Yeah, the gap
that I wouldn't have expected from a book with that title. 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah, because I thought the book was going to be about like go, more. It's actually about less.
Oh, ew.
Truthfully, yeah. Honestly, I suggest it.
Yeah.
No, but meaning like less as in like that. The premise of the book is that like when you get really good at like your thing and you really teach yourself how to focus, you actually end up doing less and gaining more. So he gives this example of like driving a car. Remember when we first started driving? Girl, I was like, the mirror, the other mirror, my hands are here, the gas, brake, right? Because when you are inexperienced, you're using so much energy just to go from here to wherever you're going. But what happens with time and experience and mastery, girl, sometimes I get home, I'm like, how did I get home? Barely using any mental strength.
Yeah.
Like I could literally be thinking of a whole business plan while I'm driving because I'm on autopilot with like the mental strength. And so that's what 10x is easier than 2x, that it's like, if you can harness your mental strength and mastery and focus, you actually will use less of it, in order to get from here to where you want to get to. So it's like, how do you do that? How do you go from an inexperienced driver to an experienced driver? Because it's easier driving when you're experienced. And so that's what he talks about, that like, and I'm just like, for me, I'm in search of how do I want to, of course I want to be successful, but in a way that it does not drain me, like in a way that doesn't require like, I'm so beat up, I don't want to do this anymore. And so like, I don't want to do, because I've hit some huge numbers, but it costs nearly everything. And I don't want to do that. Like, as I kind of rebuild what I'm doing in business and things like that, I want to build in ease and comfort and rest and recovery. And I want to be intentional about it. And so, yeah. So like I said, the book is 10X is greater than 2X. And I think I might like read The Gap and the Gain after this is all said and done, just to like really cement that reframe.
Is that,
but yeah,
wait,
I'm
is
really
The Gap
enjoying
and the
it.
Gain its own book?
Yes, that's its own book. Although they talk about it a lot in this book because it's the same two authors. So they wrote this book together, and I would suggest that do the audio book, because in between chapters they have a mini podcast almost. So they'll like finish the chapter, and then the two authors will kind of like shoot the breeze about what the chapter is about and how it. So you're not going to get that in the book. So if you get the physical book, I definitely recommend the audio just for that. Those nuggets in the like 15, 20 minutes in between are really amazing in the audio. Mandy, we need to have a Brown Ambition Amazon store.
Do we?
Yeah, meaning like, so that way we could put like books that we're reading, so the girls can just find, like, like if we make a suggestion.
But I'm not selling mops and brooms and stuff like everyone else on
No,
TikTok.
I meant like an Amazon store, meaning like the things that like right now, like you have your favorite water bottle, but also too, like these are the books that we really like.
Oh yeah, I would love it. I love a bookstore. You could do the nonfiction books, and then I would be like, I'm reading The Viscount Who Loved Me, one of the Bridgerton books. Listening to it.
I love a little smut myself as well.
Not
if
smut.
I do say so
Listen. But since you mentioned books, there is a book that I'm really excited to listen to by Attica Locke called Bluebird, which is a novel. And she's a Black author, and her sister wrote From Scratch, which became this incredible Netflix series. Anyway, I loved. I'm excited about this book, and once I'm done with Cowboy Carter, I will be listening to some books again. Okay. I listened to Heaven or Earth's Grocery Store, which is like the book everyone's talking. I didn't like it that much. I hate that.
Well, before we jump off, do you want to read a couple reviews? Because we want you guys to leave us reviews.
Oh, yes.
Right? If you go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we'll read your review. We'll even shout you out. You know what I'm saying? By we, I mean Mandy, because I don't know how to find it.
We got 3 new piping hot reviews. Let's see.
We love that.
Did I not read these? What's the? I texted you some. I think these came after the show aired last time. Okay. Dynamic Duo says German boxer. I love the energy and how financial topics are discussed in super simple ways. You go, girls. I feel at home. Rita, this listener called Rita Chick, says, I feel at home with this podcast. I learn loads of information in an authentic and fun way. I just found this podcast, and I will be reviewing all the past episodes. Many thanks to you, ladies. Oh, thank you. 2
awesome reviews. If we would like us to shout you out and read your review, you have to leave us one, and you have to share this podcast. Why are you keeping us to yourself? Oh, Mandy, someone gave me a hug to give to you.
Oh, thank you.
You know what? We're gonna like, cause I know like we've been like, and then no, I told you it was Amelia's 7th birthday. Her best friend Alina, her mother's name is Dina, and Dina was like, I'm not trying to fangirl, but I love your podcast. I was like, oh. So shout out to you, Dina, if you're listening. Please tell me I tell your name. I think I said your name right. And so she's a big podcast listener. I love that. And yeah, she was so cute. Her daughter's so cute. Like, that's like the only person apparently Amelia listens to. I'm like, Dina, can you ask Amelia why she's embarrassed when we come visit her at school? And Alina was like, I asked her. I don't know why. You want me to ask her again? I said, yes, because apparently she don't talk to nobody but you. So we're going to get to the bottom why Amelia don't like us to shout her out of school, although she does want us to come. So like, shout out to you, Dina. Thanks for coming to the crib. We had an old school birthday party in the living room or dining room, all decorated with Hello Kitty stuff. That,
I love. Hello Kitty is having a comeback.
Yeah, so apparently. And so, so that was cute. All right, y'all. Until Friday, we'll do our BAQA. We'll see you then.
Bye.